Hello, my Q family. Welcome back to My Stage, Your Platform. For those new to this channel, I am Susie Q, and I thank you for joining in. Now, today, I want to talk about the Supreme Court justices. Many of you know that the Supreme Court is the highest court within the hierarchy of courts, or should I say that it is the High Court of Appeal or the last resort, because what they say is final and are not subject to review by any other court. The Supreme Court are indeed supreme, as it sounds. They hear appeals from decisions made in lower trial courts, or should I say intermediate level appellate courts. There are 9 justices serving on the United States Supreme Court, 5 of whom are Republican nominated and 4 were nominated by a Democratic president, that number now being 3 with the death of Ruth Ginsburg. Nominated by Bill Clinton on August 10, 1993, Joanne Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the second woman to serve on the Supreme Court after Sandra Day O'Connor, and she was also the first Jewish woman to serve on the court as well. She was nicknamed Notorious RBG by a law student because of her many forceful dissents, and also because she was a great advocate for gender equality and women's rights issues. Additionally, she put forth many winning arguments before the court, including the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which was signed into law by President Barack Obama, making it possible and much easier for employees to win pay discrimination claims. In the United States versus Virginia in 1996, when the Virginia Military Institute, which is also known as VMI, was the last remaining all-male public undergraduate college, thanks partly to Justice RBG, that was no longer the case by the end of that year. Virginia argued that women were not properly suited for VMI's stringent training. Ginsburg wrote the majority opinion stating that gender equality is a constitutional right, and she's absolutely right about that. Another of her historical ruling was the Obergefell versus Hodges 2015 landmark case, which made it possible for the legalization of same-sex marriages in all 50 states under the 14th Amendment, with Justice Ginsburg relegating the procreation debate by asking whether a 70-year-old heterosexual couple should be allowed to marry when clearly they could not procreate either. Now let's move along. Moving along. Now, with the passing on Friday, September 18th of this year, 2020, what is going to become of the Supreme Court? More importantly, the question remains, who is going to be his successor? When President Barack Obama nominated Merrick Garland as his Supreme Court nominee in 2016, Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell argued that voters should get to choose the president first, and that president should get to choose the next Supreme Court justice. Don't just take my word for it. Here is a statement from the horse's own mouth.
Today, the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee on the Republican side unanimously have agreed. We wrote a letter to Senator McConnell saying we are of the view that there should not be a hearing in the Judiciary Committee for anyone that the president nominates. The reason for that is because it's not about the personality, it's about the principle. The principle being that it's up to the American people in this next election, no matter who they choose, to make the nomination for this important seat on the Supreme Court. Justice Scalia served for 30 years, so this clearly extends far beyond President Obama's term of office. It's that important.
Whoever the nominee is that comes up next year will be considered by the Senate. You know, what the procedure, the process would be, I don't know. But at the beginning of a 4-year term, the suggestion that a Senate of either party wouldn't consider the nominee at all would not be correct. But we're talking about here an election already underway, a vacancy created in a presidential election year. Next year is not a presidential election year. This is a unique circumstance, and you'd have to go back to 1888 when Grover Cleveland was president to find the last time a vacancy created in a presidentially elected year was approved by a Senate of a different party.
justice was denied next year, what would you do?
We'd fill it.
Mitch McConnell made that statement because Republicans wanted to block President Obama's nominee, hoping for a Republican president and a Republican nominee. When Justice Antonin Scalia died in February of 2016, President Obama nominated Garland that March, but the Senate never voted on it. They didn't even bother to give it a hearing. After a Republican president held office, Neil Gorsuch, a Republican nominee, was appointed to the Supreme Court. Should Ruth Bader Ginsburg's successor be a conservative judge, it could mean that 6 of the Supreme Court justices might lean that way ideologically. This could upset the balance in the Supreme Court and favor conservative ideologies and could be a big problem for our democracy. Important humanitarian concerns like abortion rights, racial injustices, gender equality, and same-sex marriages could all be under great jeopardy. A 6th Republican nominee could revert us slowly and methodically back to darker, less enlightened times. It could have a long implication on freedom given to the once upon a time oppressed citizens of this country. I am talking about the demeaning of us women, our rights to be treated as equals, minorities who were once viewed as lesser undignified human beings and slaves, and the LGBT community fighting for their right once again to be free to love whomever they choose to love. A 6th Republican nominee could be egregious and a brutal price for our democracy to pay. We are overwhelmingly strong in numbers. Our votes are our voices. I was hoping that by some miracle and by historical standard, and notably Mitch McConnell's own previous standard, Trump would not nominate anyone unless he wins a second term this November, especially since the election was less than a month and a half away and now only a few weeks away. But he has, and Mitch McConnell lied again, which proves my point that Republicans are exhibiting a hypocrisy bordering on arrogance. They should practice what they preach and should have waited till after the election to make that call, assuming their guy wins. And should he win, we can then all hope that he will finally put citizens of this country first before his own personal interests and agendas. Actually, nuclear disarmament would have a greater chance, and it has none. Is there an Abraham Lincoln out there amongst you? You know, the very first Republican president who opposed to slavery, and together with General Grant, another great Republican man, fought for that freedom for all of us and did right by their people? Is there someone like those 2 great Republicans in the woods somewhere for the plebeians? Wait a minute. Perhaps Lindsey Graham will be the one to tell me. Hello? Hello, Senator Graham? Hello? Bobby Stew? Where are you? He's nowhere to be found. Bobby Stew, where are you? Hello? Hello, Senator Graham? Where are you? They're nowhere to be found when you need them. He's nowhere to be found, just as I suspected. Lindsey Graham is a Republican senator of South Carolina who had this to say back in 2016.
This will stand the test of the time. This is the last year of a lame duck president. And if Ted Cruz or Donald Trump get to be president, they've all asked us not to confirm or take up a selection by President Obama. So if a vacancy occurs in their last year of their first term, guess what? You will use their words against them. I want you to use my words against me. If there's a Republican president in 2016 and a vacancy occurs in the last year of the first term, you can say, Lindsey Graham said, let's let the next president, whoever it might be, make that nomination, and you could use my words against me, and you'd be absolutely right. We're setting a precedent here today, Republicans are, that in the last year at least of a lame duck 8-year term, I would say it's going to be a 4-year term, that you're not going to fill a vacancy of the Supreme Court based on what we're doing here today. That's going to be the new rule.
So, did he stand by those words? Did he stand by it? Did he defend that statement? What do you all think? The answer is a big fat no. He is actually sitting on the hearing committee and never once bothered to say to his fellow Republicans that, hey, maybe we should wait till after the election to have the elected president make that call as promised to the American people. How very refreshing would it have been if indeed he took that bold step? How refreshing would it have been for someone in that party to stand by the honor of their words? He said to quote him on this should the time come. So, well, Senator, it is here. The time has come. And what have you done or said to back up your own words? Absolutely nothing. Niente. Nix. Nada. Well, lately, a few, and I mean very few, Republicans have been coming out finally to do what they should have done almost 4 years ago. Spoke the truth about who Trump really is. To those Republicans, I say thank you because you have given us a tiny bit of hope that maybe you do care about people of this country after all. To the good and decent Republicans who saw through the lies of Trump like Senator McCain and his family, the Bushes, Mitt Romney and his family, Colin Powell and Mike Bloomberg, I say thank you on behalf of all the voices you represented. You spoke up for the American people from the very first beginning and refused to follow the path of tyranny. You continue to fight beside us even though some of you are retired and Senator McCain is no longer with us. But to me, he lives through his legacy and through his family, and so he too is here and fighting for us all to maintain a healthy democracy. And God willing, we will have our democracy back this November. What you each did will never be forgotten by most of us in this country, so thank you. Now, for some of you out there, I want to remind you that the progressive issues that you are fighting against are the same policies protecting you and benefiting your loved ones as well, especially during this pandemic. Here are some Republican presidents who have contributed to the progression of this country. Abraham Lincoln, General Ulysses Grant, who was a general to Abraham Lincoln and who later also became president. And let's not forget Teddy Roosevelt. Now, on the other hand, we had some Democratic presidents who continued that progressive trend for the good of this country, namely FDR, or should I say, the man of the 19th century, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Lyndon Johnson. This proves to me that both Republicans and Democrats are more than capable of working together. We are all benefiting from the progressive ideology these presidential names I mentioned left behind for the continuous progression of this nation. Progressive policies like unemployment relief, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, gun control, Voting Rights Act, women's suffrages for the rights to vote, freeing of slaves, civil rights, federal deposit insurance, or should I say safe banking, security and exchange commissions, fair labor standards for the union, child labor laws, public broadcasting, natural conservation, parks and recreations, wilderness preservation, law and order policies, Immigration and Nationality Acts, banning of smoking in restaurants and airplanes, and wearing of seat belts are all progressive ideas that have heightened morale in this country for many decades now. With all that said, I do remain optimistic of the future and hopeful that in this coming election, we will elect a president, a leader who can unite both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and both sides will work towards a common good of uniting this country once again. I remain hopeful that the American people are people with good hearts and people who are empathetic to their neighbors' suffering. I am optimistic that the American people are people who know right from wrong and are tired as I am of this catastrophe. I feel in my heart that we are all now fully awake from a stupor come this November 3rd, which is only a few weeks away. I believe that we will prove to the world mocking at us right now that we are capable of electing a leader to lead everyone with integrity and honor. A leader who can once again strengthen relations with our allies. A leader who will reform our criminal justice system and reclaim the respectable leader of the free world title this country has had hundreds of years until almost 4 years ago. The world has had enough laughs from our reality show of a White House. This nightmare couldn't end soon enough. The time to revert this country to what it once was and save it from further shame and death is now. November 3rd will be our only chance to say no more hate, no more dying, no more dictating, and certainly no more lying. No, no, no. We have the chance and we need to seize it now. Make things right. We are our brother's keepers, so look out for one another in a good way, and someday it will come back to you. That good deed of yours could benefit your children and their children as well. All right? To those of you who listen to this monologue, thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Please give it a thumbs up. As always, leave all your comments below in the comment section or email them to me at susieakunyari@gmail.com and I will get back to you. I would like to know your thoughts on this issue. You can also friend me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. I have all the links below in the comment section, and I also have them on my page. So click away and let's get acquainted. And do not forget to what? Yes, that's right. Do not forget to vote. Do not forget to cast your votes come this November 3rd. Remember to share this with your friends and encourage them to vote, knowing what is at stake for our democracy. Till next time, be safe and smart. The virus is still around. It isn't a hoax, so protect others by protecting yourselves first, all right? And I will see you all soon. That's all I have for you today. And no, the doctors are not idiots. They actually know what they're saying. Your president is the one who's an idiot. Whatever. Wear your mask, all right? I'll see you next time.